Hello and welcome to StarCraft II. I'm your host, Saint Apoc. So this is going to be an in-depth analysis of the Zerg player here, and then maybe if I feel like it, I will restart the entire replay and do an analysis of my own play. But the reason that I'm doing this is because, as you'll see later on, I completely crushed this guy, and that's that's totally okay. I'm no offense to Zergonetrick. This is actually meant to be a helpful video for Zergonetrick and any other players that might be playing in his particular style. So that you can push up out of whatever lower league that you're in. So right here, I can already see the first problem. He went 12 pool, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a Zerg expert, so I don't know what the current meta is or what cheesy strategies look like right now. But the issue is 2 workers were spent on gas. On building extractors. So although they're cheap, they're 50 minerals, that's 2 workers that could be mining, and they are no longer mining. And for nothing, because if we go up over here, they're still at 0 out of 3, so he has not saturated them. So there is no point to have built those at this early in the game. And you can already see I'm ahead in income by between 200 and 300. So that right there should show you how much ahead I'm able to pull in this game. So we have an attack on the front here that he did kind of ignore. I guess that's okay. But my 1 Marine here is able to just deal with this because they're not focus firing anything down. And I am going to bring in some SCVs to repair that. But anyway, so again, he's sending a second wave. Again, I don't really see anything wrong with that, except that maybe you'd want to pull up more of these before you sent that second wave, just so that you can deal with that frontal wall a lot better. But anyway, he is going to send them to their death. I have a second Marine here dealing with this, and my SCVs are coming to repair. So what do we got here? Okay, so the extractors are still not saturated. 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3. You could have had that 1 drone still to yourself. The 25 minerals, that's whatever. But, and then 3 on this extractor. But instead, you're just splitting them between those, and that lack of efficiency there is actually it's actually detrimental, incredibly detrimental to your gameplay. So what have we got here? We're going for layer tech. Okay, so that's understandable why you'd want that gas. And then what do we got building over here? Some more drones. Okay, again, I'm ahead by 5 workers, so that kind of shows up in my income. And yeah, so let's see, what are we looking at here? Yeah, nothing much going on. You could be spending this time to build some creep tumors, but I mean, I haven't watched Vibe's Bronze to Grandmaster, in case I didn't already talk about Vibe. He has an excellent series for all 3 races, and it's designed to. I think he does it every year. So this year I think he's still doing it. But it's designed to show you how to be a good macro player before you focus on micro, because when you focus on macro, you end up having more than your opponent, at least in these earlier leagues. And when you have more than your opponent, micromanagement starts to just not matter because they don't have enough to deal with what's coming at them. So it looks like we just lost, I don't know what wave that was. Let's look at the loss tab. So 950 minerals have been lost in trying to push against the Terran player, which is me. And for him, for me, I only lost 1 Widow Mine, which I should have just left behind the wall instead of on the ramp. But you can see already, not only is your income is low, but now you've lost an incredible amount of forces to do 75 minerals and 25 gas worth of damage. I mean, it doesn't show what resources were used in repairing, but, you know, at the same time, it's certainly not 950 minerals. At this point, you should have stopped throwing things at this wall. Like, this is just never gonna work, and now there are siege tanks to deal with this. So, at this point, banelings might have been, you know, an option, like a whole lot of banelings. I don't see a baneling nest. I also don't see any saturation going on here. This isn't fully saturated. These gases aren't fully saturated. We're going for a spire, which, you know, I guess that's a logical thing. You have an enemy's front that you can't break through. Okay, mutas, I can see that. And a roach warren. I'm not too privy on, you know, how much tech you should be building before army, but absolutely, absolutely, having workers is your biggest concern. 15 workers compared to 33 is a death sentence. And, you know, the game could have been ended a lot earlier if I was playing the way I should have been playing. But now we've got some mutalisks coming out over here, and another one. 1 queen. There should be at least 1 queen per base, and there should be, at this point, I would have to say, in the very least 3 hatcheries before a normal Zerg player. I'd think 4 would have been, 4 by now would have been a more common thing. I mean, I'm not a Zerg player, but I think between 3 and 4 by now, at 7 minutes into the game, that's where you should be at. These spine crawlers were put up, you know, I can understand maybe you're expecting an attack in response, but at 7 minutes into the game, a Terran player that is not attacking you is turtling, and is turtling for a reason. You need to have eyes in that base. Which, you know, I can see you just sent your mutalisks out, so maybe you'll have some idea of what's going on. But yeah, your APM, I don't know why your APM is so high when it seems like you're not. What is? Let's see. Is it Control-Shift-C? No. What is the EPM? Oh no, that's music. Yeah, well, anyway. But you can see, look at the production tab for the Terran player. Look at all these things I'm producing. Yeah, again, you're not even looking at what's going on over here, so you just fired and forgot your mutas. And by the time that you look at them, they've done close to nothing in terms of damage to the enemy player. And you're sending another Zergling attack to the front for what I'm not really sure. They're not even upgraded, and you can see that the siege tank response is sufficient.
That field's been mined out.
And now you're attacking again with the mutas, but not looking at them, which, you know, I guess is part of what I'm trying to say is, like, you should be able to fire and forget. But that doesn't seem to be your style at this point, so it's like, well, then what was the point of sending the mutas? So you're not even looking at them, and they just died to this battle cruiser, so, you know, that was also kind of for nothing. You did supply block me for a little bit, but I was able to respond to that almost immediately. Okay, so the worker count has gone up to now 30 more than actually 34 more than what you've got going on here, Mr. Zergonetrick. and it's still increasing because you know, building SCVs or building workers is literally the most important part of StarCraft II. And at this point, you know, 10 minutes into the game, where are the expansions? And so this, yeah, okay. So 10 minutes into the game, this needs to be saturated. It just hands down, this and whatever your next base after that should have been saturated by now. This is exactly why I was able to pull ahead, because the worker count is just not there. Yeah, I mean, you've got a Mutalisk and a Roach Warren, and now an Infestation Pit. Relatively few forces to deal with anything. And now you're sending out a drone, I assume, to expand. If you were going to expand, it should have been here, or here, and then even over here would have been good, but you chose, yeah, you chose way out over here. So, kind of a rule to the way things work is when you have a base that's saturated, it's at that point that your next base should be just finishing. But you don't have full saturation here. So expanding is not your priority. This needs to be, you know, have, I don't know how many workers it needs to have here. 16 plus 3 plus 3, what is that, 21? No, it's 22. my poor math. Yeah, you should have 22 workers already mining this base out, and, you know, another 22 over here mining this base out. But at any rate, yeah, before you even think about building another expansion, you should be just about finishing saturation and then building your next expansion. And once your next expansion is up, it's at that point that your base should be fully saturated. Got eyes in all of these locations, and no creep tumors. Again, you know, I can totally understand not wanting to build creep tumors, but I think for this level of play, you should be. Now, I was looking at your record, and I did see... Whoa, oh my gosh, so much larva. The injects are real here. You know, you're not going to be able to build up... You can't do anything with that larva at 90, 100 minerals. But regardless, that's not the point. You know, anyway, I looked at your record and saw that, you know, you don't have a lot of games in, and you're not ranked currently, and that's, you know, that's totally okay. But if you want to improve in StarCraft, if you want your matchmaking, I forget what MMR stands for, but if you want your MMR to improve, you need matchmaking rating, maybe? You need to start building workers, like pronto. I'm at now 40 workers ahead of you. 40 workers ahead, and it now shows in more than twice the army. And you can, if anybody's been paying attention to the APM all game, you'll see that I have plenty of spots where I'm just at 0 because I'm doing literally nothing. And you know, that part of that is just being a Terran player, being able to do nothing and still come up with something. But we won't get into that. But you know, the other part of it is the workers, man, the workers. So we see a changeling being sent out, and you know, we'll see what that changeling sees. Let's see. Does it? It ends up getting right past the front and into the base. Okay. Actually, let's just take a look at it because he's not paying attention. Yeah, there he is, just sitting right there. And good. Now, I've watched this game before. There is at no point do you actually go and look at what your changeling sees. First off, the fact that I killed your mutalisks with a single battlecruiser, and then did not jump my battlecruiser to the back of your base or something, should be a big, big red flag that I'm going to just mass my battlecruisers. At 15 minutes into the game, not even a single harass attack on any of your mineral lines should be a big red flag that I'm building something, and it's not good. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We've got a Nidus Worm coming up at this far base. Okay, so now I can maybe understand why you put this here, but the same thing could have been done with an Overseer, or maybe it's Overlord, Overlords or Overseers, whatever that that grant vision. Oh yeah, can these don't even need creep, right? So yeah, obviously I'm gonna respond to that as any man would. And you even see this. You even see that so many battlecruisers. And are there any corruptors to respond with? Yes. Okay. Okay. I can see corruptor. Okay. That's you did good job. But you know, frankly, corruptors probably should have been out. More of them should have been out at this point. We still have 0 saturation on the on this base.
That field's been mined out. Hope you have an expansion.
And now extractors are coming in. You know, if you were just building a butt ton of drones to saturate this right now, you know, I could see doing that. But that is that's not the case.
Here comes a new challenge.
So now 50 workers ahead. For the Terran player, maxed out supply, and look at the tech upgrades: 2-2 armor and weapons for the ship. You've got I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's ground armor. So oh wait, I can check that right. Is it G? Yes, G. Okay, so that is cool. It doesn't tell me. Great. All right. Well, I assume it's ground armor. Which, you know, in case anybody's wondering, Zerglings and Roaches cannot kill BCs. Oh, there it is, 3-3. I'm at 3-3 battlecruisers, and here they just come in to erase everything, to delete the game for the Zerg player. And you'll see in the chat here some of the comments. But yeah, there's nothing at this point that can be done against that. Yeah, didn't expect that. So yeah, relatively new player, and that's okay. It's okay to be new. But this is kind of the way StarCraft is played, and I'm in gold. I'm like not even that good. So this, yeah, Terran is mega gay. I can agree to that. Yeah, Terran is mega gay. Let's return to the game here. And then just, let's take a look here. So 3-3 weapons, check. Army, well, I mean, now it's 128 to nothing. The worker count, and actually my worker count is about 8 low. It should be around 80, and as should yours. So the income, well, actually, let's rewind it just a hair so we can see what the income really was. Okay, let's pause it. So the income was between 2 and 3 times the amount of income that you had with this many workers. My bank is just astronomical because I don't even know what to do with my minerals at this point. I mean, there are things I can be doing, but yeah, so there's that. Okay, can we reveal everyone? Yes, it's E. Okay, so look at the mini map, and just look at the map control. And at 17 minutes, this is actually poor map control from the Terran player. Oh, I did. I took that expansion because I was like, rich geyser. I want to see what that's like. I've actually never mined out a rich geyser, so it'd be nice to see what that's like. But anyway. Yeah, so this is actually poor map control from the Terran player, but comparatively for the Zerg, and I, at 17 minutes, spreading creep, which, you know, for the 15th time I'll say I can understand why not. But in the very least, you gotta build up those workers, and you gotta expand, because if you don't do that, you're not gonna have the army supply to deal with the mega gay Terran, who will have all of this to just respond with. Some things that, you know, you did do right. That 12 pool was, as far as I can tell, I don't know if 12 pools are in, but 12 pool executed as good as I can see, you know. Some poor things, the efficiency on the extractors. Not necessary to build extractors that early. Always better to go for mineral economy before gas, unless your strategy specifically demands that you have gas early. And even at that point, you can time it well. Typically, you can time it well with just one extractor and saturating that extractor. So let's move on. Actually, now that we're done with that, you know, zergonetrick, if you're watching, you can just turn this off, or you can stay and watch for the the rest of this video, what it looks like here. We're going back to 0, and hitting play, and you can see immediately started progress on that SCV as soon as the game started. But I know I mentioned it earlier, probably the most useful video series you can watch right now is Vibes Bronze to Grand Master for the Zerg. I mean, you can watch it for anybody, but you know, watching it for the Zerg. I've never watched it for the Zerg, but I assume if it's anything like he does it for the Terran, that it's you know, it's going to be incredibly useful to you in order to figure out how to macro up your workers. And you know, it's not as I keep ridiculing you for not having workers. You know, I'll say it's not easy if you're a new player to do that. But once you get your workers up, once you played enough games where you're constantly thinking about your workers, at that point you'll be able to just do it naturally, and then start thinking about micromanagement. So go check him out, or you can, you know, stay and watch the rest of this. But if you want to improve your game, that's what you should be doing, is watching his video. Okay, so actually, let's just do a little bit of rewinding here, just so we can get down what's going on. Okay, so that first supply depot comes at, I've been building 2 SCVs and then a supply depot. Immediately following the supply depot is a barracks, and there'll be 1 SCV already queued up before that barracks even goes down. At the same time that the barracks goes down, the refinery goes down, and this is actually straight from Vibes. I mean, the build order might be slightly out of order, but yeah, building that. And then also he doesn't typically build this second supply depot so early, but I do, because I hate being rushed, hate it with a passion. So I adjusted to do that, and so now I've got this full wall off at before 1:30, and a refinery, and I'm still building workers. So now that my last, you know, he says no matter what, your orbital command should not be delayed. I'm okay with delaying it 2 seconds for that last SCV to come out, and then for the orbital to start up. At the same time, a Marine should be training to defend something with. So, yep, building now a factory, because I have that 1 gas that I saturated immediately. Didn't need to build a second gas here. And you can see I'm being attacked. Now, as we saw from the previous side, we know that he's not even paying attention to this. So, that's why I'm able to just kill Zerglings and still have a wall here. It's because they're all divided and just attacking different buildings. don't know what my Marine's doing. He's like, I think that's okay, I'm done. Got a second one out, and now they're able to fight back. So at this point, now that my factory is finished, I'm building a tech lab. Although honestly, I could have just built the tech lab here. It was so, so soon. And if I wasn't dealing with an attack, I would have built this tech lab right after the first Marine instead of building a second Marine. But because I'm being rushed, I decided to get something to aid my defense here. I also built a bunker because I thought if they get past this wall, I'm gonna have to send them into that bunker to defend with. Now the reason that I lifted this off is because I actually didn't want the supply depot to die, and I knew that I had the forces to deal with what was coming. So I lifted it off for that reason to basically say, hey, please stop attacking my depot, come attack my Marines. That's cool, because they, as you saw, they stopped and then went to attack my Marines and then died. This was stupid of me. I should have left my Widow Mine behind the wall, because now that Widow Mines, and I say now like it hasn't been that long, but it has been very long, Widow Mines are visible when they attack, right after they attack, so that was a waste of a Widow Mine. But yeah. So, working now on getting siege tanks out. 4 siege tanks, very important to have for early defenses. And now, typically, what would have happened at this point is at least one of these command centers would have been down here, and then a siege tank would have been able to move out to defend against things in this area. But I'm turtling up instead in here because I don't have any command centers. They should have been built much earlier. And actually, I didn't talk about it, but I'm behind on worker counts too, because I was not thinking about building workers while I was defending against that attack. And honestly, I didn't see my APM, but I'm sure it was close to nothing. I probably wasn't even doing much but watching the battle when I could have been building workers. Yep, now 2 tanks to defend, and these Marines gonna clean that up easy. And now we've got 2 orbitals on the way. So now I'll have 3 orbital commands. This SCV is sitting here idle doing nothing. He should be doing something. Got my 3rd siege tank out. At this point, I should also be thinking about building an engineering bay and armories. I don't know if I don't think I did that yet, but those are the things that should be built. I think even while the 2nd siege tank is on its way. But right now I'm worried because my economy is not where I know it should be. So I'm going to expand here first, because I'm traumatized by the fact that he's sent so many lings. I'm sure another wave is coming, so I don't even want to bother dealing with that. I'm gonna set it down here and then start working on that. And also it's a little late to even get that up and running. Fully saturated the building queue here. Yep, there it is. The lings that just keep coming and dying. It's like one of those zombie missions. Yep. So this is my last siege tank that I'll ever need. Now, typically, I wouldn't have them right here. I'd have them spread out a little bit, and at this point also would have had. Oh, was that? That was weird. I just saw those mules coming from way up here. But anyway, yeah, I would have had them spread out a little bit over here to defend against over here, and possibly coming up over here. And my first expansion would have been right there. But I'm doing this a little bit differently because of the Zerg attacks, and now because I feel like I have a grasp on the primary part of what Vibe, because I watch Vibe. I feel like the primary thing he talks about is workers. So, and then after that, production. Now, if I was following his build to a T, there'd be 2 factories, possibly 3 at this point. But personally, and actually I can really only say this about about TVT. But personally, I find, at least in TVT, that when I go head-to-head against factory units, or with factory units against whatever the Terran player on the other side is pushing, I always lose. I don't know what it is. My macro isn't perfect, yeah, but the Terran player against me always wins in a normal Vibes game. And that has traumatized me enough to just say, you know what? Go big or go home. Battle cruisers every match. So now I'm building my first battle cruiser here to defend with. I'm getting armor upgrades and armor and weapon upgrades, and the Yamato retrofit, because I have the minerals to spend on this. Oversaturated here, that needs to be dealt with. I've got not fully saturated here. You know, it's 8 minutes into the game. I have an excuse. You know, I was attacked and have been attacked from the front, and so I'm worried about that. And being attacked again in the back over here, which he doesn't pay attention to, but that's okay. And I'm like, you know what? That battle cruiser should be able to defend against, so let's send him. So we use that to take out these mutas. And then, so I just unoversaturated this mineral line to place down here, and now these guys are getting saturated, and these guys are kind of working up there. Now again, I did say you should be thinking about saturating one base before you build your next, but I had to catch up, and you know, unlike the Zerg player, I cannot build multiple larvae from a single hatchery, or multiple workers from a single hatchery at the same time. So I'm using this to sort of build more than one SCV at the same time from those. And I could have even, oh yeah, I am doing it. I am building more SCVs from here and having them rallied to this point. Building Thors, because I recognize, you know what, Thors are better at handling, or I guess slightly anyway, slightly better at handling mutas. And honestly, before I even go battle cruisers, I should be macroing up Thors. It should really be more of a transition than just going straight to battle cruisers. So typically, what I like to do in most of my games when I'm completely uncontested and have my brain on correctly or whatever, is I'll build somewhere around 6 or 7 Thors while I'm building battle cruisers. I think I only built 3 this match, but you know, yeah, it is what it is. So all my siege tanks are now. Okay, I'm gonna stop personifying them. I am taking my siege tanks. I'm taking my siege tanks and moving them to a position where they can defend against multiple areas. I don't remember if I ever ended up taking this spot, but I really should have. Anyway, so this these siege tanks can defend on here. They can defend against this, and they can even, you know, if something decides to walk this way, they can sort of get a little bit over on that. But yeah, and I also keep these here because I don't want them to, you know, I like having this as a defensive wall. Also, I mean, previous to this game, but recently I discovered actually that these are mineable. Anyway, yeah, so building more command centers, and actually, although they're really to help with defenses, these are planetary fortresses that I'm building. I can use them to build more SCVs if I so choose, and so to me it's you know, it's a win-win. Having planetary fortresses, they may cost what, 550 minerals and I don't know how many gas, but defending against those stupid Zerglings that keep coming, for me, especially with no forces, is important. So got only two battle cruisers at this point, and I've got three starports that are queued up. One of which has 2 battle cruisers in queue, and recognizing that is when I begin to start building more starports. Building out now. Oh yes, so I do take this spot. Immediately building turrets, and gas, because at this point I have the workers to do that, and I can just use them, you know, from other places to throw at this. So where before I was talking about not building gas until your mineral is saturated, I'm doing this deliberately because I have stupid amounts of minerals, but I don't have a lot of battlecruisers, and they're very gas heavy. At this point, you know, I do have, it looks like 5 battlecruisers, which is, you know, at 13 minutes of the game, that's not terrible.
Command center upgrade.
So yeah, it's really not. I'm not doing terrible here.
Mineral field depleted.
What is there's production. Okay, so this is oversaturated slightly. Needs one that needs to move away, and you know, fill up this. I'm building yet another planetary fortress here so that I can defend on that. This is unsaturated, sorry, is missing one SCV that could saturate with. But yeah, I'm actually, you know, I'm not doing terrible here. Got are my third upgrades? No, they're not ready yet. Second, I've got 2-2 on my ships. I got 3 Thors here to play it safe and defend with, plus the planetary fortresses. This is what a normal Terran base looks like on a bad day. You know, I've got these turrets that I'm using to defend against those mutas, because when I see mutas, I respond with turrets. Supply depots are doing okay. I've got 200 to work with. 172 now in supply. Basically all battlecruisers and workers, some siege tanks and Thors. Oh, and there's 2 Marines somewhere around here. I don't know where they went, but they haven't died. At this point, if you look at the units lost, our Zerg player has lost 450 gas and 2,525 minerals, compared to 225 minerals and 25 gas. And then plus this income, which is now triple his income. It's a done deal. Yeah, 200 to 80. No good. No good. So yeah, this is I think at this point, even way earlier than this point, I should have had enough to deal with it. These guys have finished mining their gas, and I actually totally did not see it. I heard that Nidus, and I'm like, where is it? So I went to go and attack it. But yeah. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, right. I want to see. Oh, I gotta have all my battlecruisers. Can't deal with it without my last battlecruiser. And I'm looking all over my base at that point for any more, but I didn't find any. So these are my battlecruisers. And this Nidus Canal just dies. And seeing this base here, I'm thinking, oh man, he must have like a whole bunch of stuff. But then I didn't see any creep tumors coming out this way. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a strange place to expand. Yeah, you can see I just targeted these guys. I'm like, those are changelings, but they're not. They're not changelings. Those are my Marines, because hit the good old F2 key. Is it F2? Yeah, I think it's F2. Don't use the F2 key, they say, but this early in the leagues, I'm okay using it. And of course, my F2 key consists of battlecruisers and nothing else. But yep, I've got 6 starports now to resupply battlecruisers, and I've got a bank worth of gas, and my 3-3 production for air weapons and air armor is nearly done. So I'm like, all right, time to move out. And I mean, you know the rest from here, but again, my SCV production, even up to this point, 72 workers could have had 80. if you pay close attention to the production tab throughout the game, I actually wasn't doing a perfect job of building SCVs. And supply depots, you know, I could have been focused on those a little bit better too. What I did do right, you know, 3 orbital commands. Personally, I like to just go all orbital commands, but with a Zerg player that sends Zerglings, you know, planetary fortresses are necessary. And, you know, I guess at this expansion I would have built a planetary fortress. But, yeah, I don't know what else much to say about this. Other than that, the game was relatively easy. And I hope that, you know, Zergonetrick is still watching, if he even started watching, so that he can kind of see what it looks like to macro. Of course, I'm not a Zerg player, so, you know, I can't, but this, you know, having all of these workers to just use, and then, you know, it does help having orbital commands. Orbital commands, you know, I mule drop lots of things with my mule hammers. Oh, what am I talking about? I have a 4th planetary fortress. Yeah. Oh, maybe I would have just, or orbital command. I would have maybe just built another orbital command and then a PF. But anyway, yeah, lots of workers and mules to hammer down onto minerals. Not nearly enough in terms of base defenses for units, but, you know, with these planetary fortresses, I'm sure I had a decent amount, and these siege tanks really like to help. 7 kills, 15, 20, and 12. These guys probably all have 0. Yeah, so anyway, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you know, I gotta start posting videos of me getting my butt handed to me so that we can really do some more in-depth analysis. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. Bye-bye.